my name is Alyssa Vogel. This assignment is for the Importance of Literacy ELM 315. All my research will either be at the end of this video or in the description box down below, or also submitted within the portal I have for this assignment on GCU. Let's get to it. So the first question is, discuss the importance of explicit reading instructions in grade K through 3rd. The importance of explicit reading instructions in grade K through 3rd is basically when a new lesson or skill is being taught. As educators, we need to be able to break this up into sections and not just hand it out to them. It is very important to break it down into sections because that's not how the mind learns. The brain is something fragile and very important to the students. So when they are being handed a new skill or a new lesson to learn, we need to be able to break it down for them so the brain can fully comprehend everything and keep it in their memory. For example, if we are giving the students a new word to learn, let's use that as an example. Let's use a simple word. Let's use because. If we're teaching them, here's the word because. You need to learn how to say it and spell it. That is not how it's going to work. We need to be able to break it down. Let's start off with, how does each letter sound? How does these sounds make this sound together? You could be like, B is also known as B as a bug, B-E-E. But right now, it's a different word. It's B-E. Not a new word, but it's syllables. Because. You could break it down like that. Say, because. And then, once the students start to compromise in their memory, oh, because there's 2 syllables now. And now they understand what each letter can possibly sound like if you go into great detail. And this is where explicit reading instructions come in handy, because it needs to be broken down for the students to fully compromise and fully remember in the back of their minds. Question number 2, discuss the effects that dyslexia can have on reading success for the students. Well, let's start off with what dyslexia actually is. Usually dyslexia it's usually diagnosed at a very young age. So when a student is diagnosed with dyslexia, the side effects of having dyslexia is hard time with reading. They will mess up letters if they're lowercase, like B and D or E and C. It is very hard for them to stay focused or stay on task or even to multitask sometimes. So let's talk about the effects that dyslexia can have on one's reading success. For a student, this could possibly push them behind a grade level of their reading that they should be at, or even it can affect the way they write out their words. If there's a vocabulary test, they can possibly struggle with writing the word because they might hear a certain sound like island. They can spell it differently because they don't hear it the way it actually is. So they could possibly fall behind in reading levels and even in writing or English. But it's our goal to make sure they succeed. Different ways you can help prevent any mix-up with letters is to have pictures. Students with dyslexia will probably more likely comprehend pictures than actually writing down things instead. Question number 3 is, provide an overview of the science of reading and Scorpio's reading group. I am so sorry if I had incorrectly pronounced that 3rd word at the end. So the Scorpio's reading rope is basically where all the skills of reading is in there. It's word recognition and language comprehension. So for example, word recognition can be sight recognition. So if a student is able to fully see a word that says island or because, that is sight recognition. But now this also adds into the language comprehension. Now that is a vocabulary of knowledge to them. They can see the word, they can say the word, they can spell out the word, and this all tangles into a big skill of reading because this allows them to access new words or even access a new grade level of reading be answering question number 5 now. I feel that I had answered question 4 with question 3. If I did not, please let me know and I will correct myself. So question number 5 is describe 2 research-based instruction strategies for each comprehend component of reading that are appropriate for grade K through 3rd students. So what I had found most effective when giving instructional strategies is have students identify similarities and differences. This allows all students to see what their peers' point of view might be upon what they had just read or the new vocabulary word they had just learned, how they say it or how they saw the book going this way. I feel that is a great instructional strategy because this allows students social skills to happen and they get to hear their other peers' opinions. Now, my second one would be set objectives and provide feedback. This is great because all students absolutely love to hear when they're praised or if they're just acknowledged for the effort they had put in. It is very important that when providing feedback, it is normally positive feedback, and this will help the student be more engaged with reading or learning new vocabulary words. Now we'll be moving on to our last question, which I believe is question number 5, which is discuss why it's important to instruct students in the components of reading and sequences, finding examples of difficult students may experience with reading if it does not happen, i.e., what happens if fluency if students do not receive instructions in phonemic awareness and phonics. Sorry if I stuttered just a little bit, my apologies. But if this is not presented to students, students will find no interest in reading. They will not understand how beginning, middle, and end work, and how basically reading just unfolds itself and how it works. This will keep students more engaged and more on task. So if I'm reading this correctly, if a student is struggling, it's because they're not engaged. Something is not being explained to them, like I believe in question number 2, or no, it's question number 1, my apologies. Things need to be broken down into sections so they can fully understand it. And it same goes for reading a book. It needs to be broken down into sections from beginning, middle, and end so the students can fully comprehend it. And with this, it keeps the students on track, engaged with the reading. That is it for my assignment for EML. I hope you have a great night. Thank you.